We're on Yadayim Perek Bet, Mishnah Bet, second Mishnah in the second chapter, Masechet Yadayim. And again, I want to thank Pablo Geralnik for dedicating our learning today in memory of his father, Hector Geralnik, Meir David ben Shlomo. Our learning should be an aliyah to his neshama. So we're talking about netilat Yadayim, netinat Yadayim. And remember, we learned there when you wash your hands, we do two wash. If you're doing a whole revi'it, you pour the whole thing, you're all good. But remember, if you do two washings, if you have less than a revi'it, okay, you do 1, 2, and the first one makes your hand tahor, but now the water on your hand is tameh. The second one, the second pour, makes the water, gets rid of the tameh water on your hand. So now the Mishnah says, netilat harishonim lemakom echad. Let's say you wash the mayim rishonim on a certain place, i.e. the water dripped onto a certain area. Ve'et hashniim lemakom echer. And the second wash, you just moved it over a little bit. And you did it to another place. The water dripped onto another place. V'nafal kikar shel truma al rishonim. And a kikar of truma loaf fell on the first water, the place where the first water, that first wetness area got wet, obviously. Tameh. Okay, it's tameh. Why? Because remember, as we said, the mayim rishonim, yes, it makes your hand tahor, but that water is tameh. That water is tameh, whether it's on your hand or on the ground. Balashniim, but if the loaf fell on the second area of water, then it's tahor, then it's fine. The Bartanura adds, he says, if it fell on where the first water was, it's tameh, huadin im nagar kikar b'mayim rishonim shayadav. If the water touched your hand, you did one washing of less than a reed, and then you touched the loaf, then hakikar tameh, because the water is tameh, but on the second one it's tahor. But he says, natav rishonim mushlim lemakom echad. Let's say you didn't move around, you washed on one place. V'nafal kikar shel truma al hamayim, and then the kikar touches the water, the loaf, tameh. And then it's tameh, because the second one, kitari seifa, she'en hashni mitarim el hamayim shal gabei hayad. Meaning, if you pour, you don't get rid of the water. If you pour the water on the ground, there's still the tameh water is there. All the second pouring does is get rid of the tameh water on your hand. And that's why the Mishnah says, natalat harishonim v'tashnim l'makom echad. We read it in the Mishnah. If he washed both the first and the second in one place, v'nafal kikar shel truma, and therefore a loaf of truma fell on that, then the Mishnah says tameh. That's what the Bartanura explained. I guess he was just commenting and quoting the Mishnah before getting ahead of us. So that's exactly what we said, that the water remains, the original water remains, it's still tameh. Natal et harishonim v'nimtza al yadav kesam o tzuror. Right? If you washed your hands and then you find on your hands, kesam is like a piece of wood, it's a splinter or a tzuror or a rock, then yadav tumeot. Your hands are tameh. She'en hamayim ha'achronim mitarim ela hamayim shal gabei hayad. Because the second water is not mitaher except ela, the mayim, the water that's on your hand. It's really interesting what's going on here. So we're going to be the Bartanura. The Bartanura says what happened is the following: if you washed, and then you found on your hand a splinter or a rock. Afa b'shem refuyim below chaytze. So you found on your hand like a splinter. It's not stuck, but you have a piece of straw in your hand. Yadav tumeot. What happened here? Your hands are tameh. Even though you put mayim shniyim. Why? So you washed your hands, and then you washed again. You first washed, but then you saw there's a stick on your hand. Because the water on the stick or the rock became tameh because of your hands. So the Bartanura says, this second pour only helps the water on your hand. And not water on the rock or on that little splinter on there. So the water can only help your hands. It's almost a continuation of the earlier thing. The water, if it's on the ground, it's still tameh. At least the first water is still there. See, here it's not only saying that, it's saying the water on your hand, it washes in your hands, but if something on your hand, then it's tahor. Now, you can understand it's very problematic. What difference would it make if the second water washes off the first water? Why would a stick piece be tameh? So therefore, there's another explanation that talks about chatzitza. I don't want to get into it, but there are other explanations because this one is problematic and troubling. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Shed Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, Kol Shumi Bria Tamayim Tahor. If there's, the way that we explained it, let's go to Bartanura for a second. He says that instead of if a stick or a rock fell on your hand, then you obviously there was something in the water. You picked the water from the river and you poured it. So he says, you have chushim v'yatushim. You have like yatushim are bugs. You have chushim are other kinds of bugs. I never remember which they are. Okay, hagdelim b'mayim. They grow in the water. They're water or whatever's. Im naflu al yadayim b'shat netilat. If they fell on your hands, einam chos. They're not a chatzitza. I mean, the sticks in the rocks would be. Ho men briat hayam. Okay, because they are part of briat hayam. We don't pass on like Rabban Shimon Gamliel. Very interesting Mishnah talking about how Mayim Rishonim. It's always very complicated. Mayim Rishonim, again, first pour less than a revi'it. First pour makes your hand tahor, but the water on it is tameh. And obviously you have to ask yourself. The Tosfos Yontif asks, how is it if the water on your hand is tameh? How's your hand still tahor? Yeah, he has all these answers. It's what the Mishnah says, and then the second one gets rid of that water as well as mitahar that water as well. We'll stop here and dedicate our learning to my Mary Father, Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Comments, questions? Send me an email or get on our Telegram chat. Make it a great day.